Today, you're going to need to have 4 things open. They're going to be Google Analytics, you'll need Search Console, and you'll need Tag Manager and the back end of your website. And we're going to attach all these things together.
If you don't have any of these, the first thing you're going to do is go over to Google and type in Google Analytics, in another tab, Google Search Console, and in another tab, Google Tag Manager.
Yes, I will post the links in the chat. And of course, you'll need to be in the back end of your website. Today, I'm going to be covering how to do it with a WordPress website. If you have something else other than WordPress, let me know and we can work through this live. I'm confident that as long as you have admin permissions, we can definitely fix all these things together. Before we jump in, does anyone have any questions? Okay.
So I've got Google Analytics, but the credentials are saved on my work computer. I haven't been able to figure out what the password is, but I have managed to get into the Gmail account that it's associated with.
Okay.
But I also don't have the password for the Gmail account, but I have managed to get into it like automatically. But it's giving me a warning, and you did mention this, that we need to switch over to a Google Analytics 4 property. So I was thinking it would be better for me just to delete this analytics account and start with a new fresh one that I can set the password and link it to an email that I am able to like access on other computers other than at my desk at the office.
Yeah. So we're going to be covering setting up the Google Analytics 4. So this has actually changed from last year because last year we set it up with the old UA tag. And now this year we're going to be setting up with the Google Analytics 4. You can technically have both running. They don't interfere with each other.
Just a quick side note. So if you do work for a company and you can't get into the analytics and you have to create a new analytics, you will lose all your data from past by and so if you have 2 analytics accounts like UA or GA4, if you have 2 GA4s or 2 UAs on your website, it doubles the traffic, it doubles the bounce rate. And the way you'll be able to tell that's happening is because when you go into Google Analytics, you'll see 20% bounce rate, which is unheard of, and things like that. So just so you're aware, if we do creating the new GA4, we can do that. If you're going to create a new, because you only have one Google Analytics account. So you have a Google Analytics account, and inside Google Analytics, you have a universal Google Analytics and you have a GA4 analytics as properties. We're going to go over a couple things in here. And if anybody wants to share their screen when we're doing this or needs extra help, we are here.
Yeah, we've seen every kind of weird situation. So there's nothing that's really going to surprise us. You'll have to try pretty hard to bring up something that we haven't seen before. And yeah, we're happy to help you guys work through it and get this all set up properly. So today we are doing the activation setup. We're going to be doing, as we've already talked about at the top, the Google Analytics 4. We're going to be installing the Google Analytics using Tag Manager because that's the recommended way from Google. We're going to be also turning on Search Console. We're going to be connecting the Search Console and the Google Analytics if we've got time. If not, we'll record a short video that will be associated with this class that you'll see in the description. So no matter what, you guys are going to get the recording afterwards for how to do that.
And bite-sized little add-ons like how to add a user in every account or how to connect Google Analytics to Search Console. Things like that will be extra stuff inside Kajabi that you'll be able to watch.
Yeah, and also the searching incognito if we have time today, just so you guys can do the cleanest searches for your own business as well. We're going to be setting up Google Analytics 4. There'll be additional videos inside Kajabi that will cover specific Shopify is one of the use cases. We can cover that in additional video as well. Just to cover over, what is Tag Manager? Tag Manager, what it does is it abstracts away a lot of the really hard stuff that you would have to do with tags and having them configure. It's like Zapier for your tags is the best way I think of it. The interface is very nice. It's very clean. And what it does is it enables anyone who doesn't know how to do code to just install this code once. And then every other time they just go to Tag Manager, they can just deploy the tags there. And so really useful for anything related to Google Ads conversion tracking. We'll cover that. Facebook Pixels, really useful to do the user tracking with that as well. Though there are some drawbacks with the versus the API configuration, but that's for another day. Basically, you install this once, and then every other time you need to install some sort of code, you can do it with Tag Manager. And it's got hundreds of integrations at this point as well. The other one is going to be Google Analytics 4. We've already been talking about it a bit. It basically is going to help you analyze what's going on with your website. And especially with the new Google Analytics 4, we'll dive into it more with the class itself on like the particulars of what makes Google Analytics 4 different than UA, the one that's being sunset. But basically, it helps you to analyze how people are interacting with your website. The last one is going to be the Search Console. So this one's really useful for people who are doing SEO. It's going to let you know about what pages are ranking for, what are the impressions they're getting, what are the clicks that these pages are getting, what's its average position. We're going to dive in. The first one is going to be with the Google Analytics 4 setup. So just a brief overview, like I said at the top, the Google Tag Manager is the way that we're going to set it up. It's got a nice, easy to do built-in integration. And we're also going to be going over accepting Google signals and data collection. There's a little tab that you need to say, yes, I understand that Google is going to be analyzing data that is coming from my website. And then we also need to make sure that it's set to the longest period possible, which currently is 14 months. I think by default does 2 months. And so we just want to extend that out a little bit longer. So we're going to copy. So I'm actually going to hop over. And right now we're going to go, because you guys will also have this slide deck. And so don't need to worry about that. Ooh, what just happened there? Okay. But what we're going to do is actually hop over to an account and we are going to do this live. I'm in Tag Manager and I've got all my helpful accounts that have already been set up. I'm going to do is create a new account, which is going to be most likely the first step that you're going to have. Search and Social Geeks. That's the name of the website that we're doing this for. We're going to pick country that we're in my case, Canada. You can share it anonymously with Google or not. Totally up to you. I'm not going to because why not? And I'm going to copy the name of my website. Generally, you want to put it in here to make sure that you know which site this is going on. Separate out whether it's going to, for each domain, you're going to have a different container. So in this case, I'm doing it for searchandsocialgeeks.com, which is the website we're going to put this on. If you have an app, you can do it for those as well. Or if you have an accelerated mobile page, some people do. And then also there's the server side, which is a lot more advanced, but that is really useful, especially for, as I talked about with the Facebook Pixel. That's how you can integrate the API connection. But for right now, we're just going to do web. Make it nice and simple for everyone. We're going to create. And then this is basically covering over Google's privacy policy and how that all works. It's a lot of their legalese that covers them for things like GDPR compliance, and CEC, I believe, is the California version of the GDPR law. So basically you just go down, you accept it, and then in the top right-hand corner, click yes. So now they are going to bring you over to this handy little section. And what we do is we're going to start off. We are going to hit copy in the top right-hand corner of this little space. You'll see that there's a little icon here that will copy it to your clipboard. And then I'm going to go over to, I've already signed into my website and I can tell that I am an admin because I'm seeing all the plugins. And so that's your way of, if you log into a WordPress website, that you have the right permission structure. You're going to need admin level in order to either install a plugin that will help you connect to the header and footer code. In my case, I wanted to open up the header and footer so I could install a snippet of code.
Sometimes if you are using a website, a lot of websites have themes like Divi or Elementor, or I think Cadence has one. So sometimes there's actually a place to put the code on your site. And we can show you some examples of that at the end for sure. But we mostly always will put on this header and footer plugin to make it easier.
Generally, if you are looking to see where to go to find that, it will be under appearance and then customize. Almost always. Divi is a little different, that it's inside of the Divi tab that's here, and then you go to integrations. But generally, if you go to appearance, then customize, that's generally where you'll find something. And it's usually called header, footer, or additional scripts. That's another big one, as well as some tab like that where you're basically putting in some JavaScript into the top. In our case, as I just showed you when I went to the appearance and then customize, that I only had these tabs available to me. So I need to add a plugin to do that. And in this case, the plugin that I was using is, I actually had it already installed because we were already practicing, but it is called Header Footer Code Manager by 99 Robots. Very straightforward plugin. Again, you don't want to have too many of these plugins because they do slow down your website, but the tab that it will show up as is HFC right here. And in my case, we're going to go all snippets. And now that I'm here, I am going to add a new one. In this case, the snippet is called Tag Manager. I'm going to call it Head. And it's going to be HTML. That's fine. That's going to be site-wide. I'm not looking to exclude because I want the tag manager to run on every page. So that's perfect. Location header, that's perfect. And then the code itself. And I'm just going to hit paste because we had it copied from before. And then we're going to hit save. And perfect. So now this has been created. We are going to add a new snippet at the top there. And this one is going to be called Body. And we're going to go back to Tag Manager and we're going to install the second part of Tag Manager. So this little guy does all of the on-page tracking. We are going to copy Mr. Body code and go back over to our WordPress website. And so in this case, the location, I want it in the footer. So that means that it's going to be placed in the body tag. Basically, there's going to be the head code. That's all kind of invisible stuff. Usually that's like styling, JavaScript is all in the head, SEO stuff as well. And then in the body where people are clicking, this is where we're going to put this code. And this code's actually going to be tracking things. So we can actually, when we go into the Tag Manager class, we're going to use Tag Manager to track things like specific link clicks, like your mail to, your phone, your contact form, like all kinds of stuff. Videos we can track in here as well. There's all kinds of really cool stuff that we can do with Tag Manager and tracking. And all that's done because of this little guy who's just there keeping tabs on what people are clicking on. Of course, now we're going to hit save, hit update. And then we need to go back over. The first thing you need to do is make sure that this has been published in order to check that it's been installed correctly. So we just need to go in the top right-hand corner, you click on submit, and then I always give them a name. This one, initial setup, and hit publish. Okay, so now what we do to test it is this is on a maintenance mode right now, so I'll need to turn this off. I'll just deactivate the plugin and deactivate. So now we are going to go visit the website, and again, as we mentioned, you want to have a Chrome extension called Tag Assistant, Google Tag Assistant Legacy, and then you'll click on it, because right now it's not detecting anything. And we click on enable in the bottom left-hand corner of the Chrome extension. And then we refresh the page. And we do have multiple tag managers, which I'll fix that afterwards. And what we do to check that ours got installed correctly is we're going to go to the workspace. And we are looking for the ID to the top menu on the right-hand side. So GTM, P2, and Z. To make sure that we're looking for the right code, we're in Tag Manager. We're going to go to the admin section. And this is where you can create another container is in this section here, but they also, in case that window goes away for you and you need to come back to get it again, you go into the container and it's going to have install Google Tag Manager. And so that's where this code is, just in case you ever need to open it up again, that's where it is. So it's not lost forever. But in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to open up the inspect element.
The inspect element is when you go to a website and you right click on it, you'll get a little box that opens up. Phelan, do you want to show them? Right click and then inspect. Yes. Now this is pretty advanced stuff. This is why this class is a bit of a challenge, but don't worry. We promise you will get all set up properly.
Yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just seeing that if that body code, that the error message I was getting in the tag assistant, when it said the second element of the code, which is this tag, that's saying that this is not available. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing Control F in here, and then I'm looking for GTM-5C, because that's going to be a unique ID to this one. So it says that there's 3 of them in there. I know it's a little hard to see, but it's 2 out of 3 that I found. And it's there. I don't know why it's not reading it correctly. I'm guessing it actually has to do with the multiple tag managers that were installed. So it is set up correctly. And we'll go into more in the actual class itself of tag manager about how we can test that this body is working, and we'll go into that more. Yeah, so I'm just letting you guys know that this is a way for you guys to go find it. If you do run into that error message, that you can actually do the find and then go look for this no script and make sure that it's got your ID tag, because you'll see ID equals, and then that's the ID that is going to be right here, which makes it unique to yours. I'm just going to close the dev tools because that part is done. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use the tag manager to launch your first bit of code. Usually when we set up new Google Analytics accounts, we would set up both the UA and the GA4. But for this one, we're going to create both and have them connected, but I'm not going to install it right now because it is going to be sunset. And we want to set you guys up for the future. And the future is now going to be Google Analytics 4. So to set up Google Analytics, we are going to go over to Google Analytics.
Go over to Google and type in Google Analytics.
Or the link that I post in the chat, and then it's going to give you a link to something like analytics.google.com. That's the link that you're looking for. It will take you here. And what we are going to do is in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to hit admin. I don't need your little tour. And we are going to create a new account. It's very similar setup to the tag manager. You're going to have an account that is going to be your whole business, and it's going to have properties underneath it, which are different websites or apps that you have. Very similar to what we did with the tag manager. So we're going to hit create account, and this account is going to be called Search and Social Geeks. And then I'm going to hit next. And in this case, I'm going to be calling it Search and Social Geeks.com. Very similar to how we set it up with the tag manager. My time zone is going to be Vancouver. Currency is going to be in dollars. And in this case, there's a little tab here that shows advanced options, and see they're already, so it will stop collecting on July 1st, 2023. I'm still going to turn it on, and I'm going to give it this URL, and I'm going to have them both enabled, and they're both going to be measuring. Then I'm going to hit next.
Now, if you are working on a business for your client and your client is not in the same time zone as you want to put it in their time zone.
Yes, time zones also in tag and Google Analytics is flexible. You can change it after the fact, which is not true of Google Ads. Once you set the time zone for that, it is done, and you'll need to create a new account. That's definitely something to keep in mind. You want to have the time zones and the money tied to whoever your client is, because they're the ones that are going to be checking on things, and it's going to be on their business. But there's also, they want some extra information. This is for them. It doesn't change anything about your account, so I don't really spend too much time worrying about the answers I give here. And then when you go to accept, you also want to make sure that you're accepting on terms of where your client is, because these terms do change very slightly depending on the region that it's in. In my case, I'm going to hit Canada. I'm going to agree, and then I will accept. And now this is where we actually start installing things. What you do is on the screen, you go to the top right-hand corner where you'll see G dash, and then there'll be an ID tag, and it's going to be unique to whoever it is. In this case, mine starts with an HLZ, and I am going to hit copy just to the right of it. Then so with the ID copied, the measurement ID, we are going to go back over to Tag Manager. We're going to go to Workspace tab, the furthest left option in the top menu. We're then going to click on Add a New Tag, dead middle. You can also, the other way is go to Tags and then click on Add New. Either way works, takes you to the exact same spot. We're going to click on Tag Configuration. We're going to click on this handy dandy Google Analytics GA4 configuration, and then we're going to paste in our ID. We don't need to worry ourselves with any of these. We go over it more in our second Tag Manager class, what all these could mean and how they interact with Google Analytics 4. But right now, there's no need to worry about them. And the trigger. So the way Tag Manager works, and I'll go into this more when we have the Tag Manager class, but basically as a brief overview is that there's going to be two parts. There's going to be the tag. So what is going to fire the tag itself? And then also, when is it going to fire? So in this case, what is the trigger? So when this happens, fire the Google Analytics 4 tags. What is the trigger? It's going to be really easy. It's all pages. So basically, every time that page loads, you want Google Analytics 4 to load. So it starts tracking information. And then we're going to hit save. And then I'm just going to leave this name. It's a perfectly good name for what this tag is. And then you can see we've created this. It'll also tell you when it was created. So if you've got to keep track of things like that, it's super easy. You'll also see in the top menu here that workspace changes 1 means that one thing has changed since we started, which is us creating this tag. And then what we're going to do is hit submit in the top right-hand corner. We are then going to give it a name that says added GA4 tag. A nice brief name lets us know what we did when we submitted this. Okay, and so now we are going to go back over to the page. We're going to open up our tag assistant again. And what I'm looking for is GHLZ8. Yep. So we have installed it correctly. Generally, also one thing to bear in mind that multiple Google Analytics tags, not a good idea. I will be removing this, but we're not going to be doing that live. And now we've installed the Google Analytics 4 tag. And so the last step that we have on our little journey is to verify this domain with Search Console. I want to do all the verifications, and then we'll go into the Google Analytics 4, and then we'll check off those little spots. Search Console, we have 2 types of ways to verify. You can do the domain, and each has their pluses and minuses. Search Console, if you do the URL prefix, it will only do a certain URL. So maybe it's just searchandsocialgeeks.com. And whereas if you do this DNS version, this one is more comprehensive. So it takes into account variations or subdomains, which can be good or bad depending on how your website is set up. So say if you have a blog that's on blog.mydomain.com, you may want to track that separately because it's doing its own thing and it's trying to rank for its own keywords. And you don't want to have that data blended in with the other data. Or you may have your shop and you want to keep tabs on what's going on with shop.mydomain.com. And so these are all going to be variations that you're going to want to keep separate. Generally, for getting started, we recommend doing a URL prefix. That means that what we're going to do is we're going to verify this domain here. So just clicking on it, hitting copy and pasting it here. We're going to hit continue to verify. Sometimes they've gotten really good at auto verification. We do have a couple of methods. We have Google Analytics, we have the Tag Manager, we have the DNS, so you can also verify with the DNS. Again, that's a much more technical. Not everyone has access to the domain level. And so generally, unless it's absolutely necessary, we're not going to recommend that. But in our case, because we just installed the Google Tag Manager, I'm going to try and verify it with that. Hopefully it works. It doesn't always. It can be a little touchy. So in our case, we're going to do HTML tag. And what we do is it's got these nice handy instructions. We're going to copy this. We are going to install it in the head code, and then very similar to how we did this with the Google Tag Manager. Now, one thing to bear in mind is you may think, hey, I can install this using Google Tag Manager. It won't work because the way Google verifies is they will not trigger Google Tag Manager because they just scan the page with the spider. You actually need to install it into the code itself. It's one of the few things that you can't just use Tag Manager to do, as much as I would like to. And we're going to go into the dashboard again. And we're going to go back to our header footer code manager. And we're going to go add new. The snippet's name is going to be Search Console Verification. The type is going to be in HTML. We want it in the header, which is what they said. They said to add it to the head code. And then we're just going to add this little bit of code and we're going to hit save. Because I just made some changes that are small to the website, what I'm also going to do is, if you have anything that's caching or trying to make your website go faster, you're going to want to purge all the caches just in order to make sure that there isn't any lingering bit of code that could be a cache that's messing up your verification. Now that is all done. We're going to go back over to Mr. Search Console. We're going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of this tab that we have open. And it says verify. Hit that guy.
Fingers crossed.
We have green. Woo! We're going to need to wait for Google as they correlate the data. One good thing about Search Console is that usually if your website's been around and it has been indexed by Google, that there will be historical data. If you install Google Analytics, it has no historical data. It doesn't know anything until it's been on the website and activated. This is Google, who has been tracking your website already, is going to share with you this information. So that's what's really cool about this as well, because you don't really know what keywords you've been ranking for, pages. Of course, we're all going to go into this a bit more when we go through that Search Console class.
Do you want to show a quick example of a site that has active information?
Let's do Coastal Power Vacuum. So in this case, we've got information here. It lets you, are there pages that are not working? Do they have errors? This case, he's got 16 valid pages. That's awesome for us. We've done well for the mobile, so that's good. We're going to go to Performance tab, the second one down on the left-hand menu there, and you'll see clicks, total impressions, the average click-through rate, and then the average position. You can see all kinds of keywords that you'll be showing up for. And then you can improve your click-through rate for them as well. And yeah, and you can also extend this out. 16 months is the longest date range that Google will offer in Search Console. And you can see your overall time, how many impressions you've been getting for these things generally. Again, we'll dive into this a lot more in Search Console and how you can use this to really knock it out of the park with your SEO and your content strategy. But yeah, now we have gotten the three things installed, right? We did the Search Console, the Tag Manager, the Google Analytics 4. So the last little bit that we're going to do is just the quick setup for the Google Analytics 4. Again, we would have taught a slightly different one if we hadn't got the notification before the class that the UA is going away. There's filters that we would have set up. In this case, we're going to start in Google Analytics 4.
Can you hit the back arrow in the vertical menu at the top beside property?
On the left-hand side, top left.
Yeah. I just want to point this out because there are one significant difference between Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4, and we can easily show you. You're going to notice, all right, there's 3 columns, right? The first column is your accounts, right? If you click that down arrow beside Search and Social Geeks at the top, right, you can see that you'll have different accounts. So your clients could have different accounts. You could choose as a business owner, if you have 2 businesses, to have 2 different accounts. For instance, for West Coast Massage Therapy, you could actually have 2 different accounts for the 2 different analytics or you could have one account and two properties. Now, if you look at the second column, if you see 3 columns, it means you're under universal, and universal's always depicted with the UA. And then universal has this option where you have views. That's how you can always tell if you're in universal. If you're in GA4, as Phelan's going to show you, as soon as you move to the GA4 property in your account, it changes it. You only have 2. So this is a constant thing. People seem to struggle with account, property, and views, but just know Google Universal Analytics has account, property, view, and Google Analytics 4 has account and property.
Yeah, just to build on what Pip said as well, it is recommended by Google that if you have a different business, but it has multiple websites under it, like the West Coast Massage, like your 2, to have it as the properties and have the account be the West Coast Massage School. And then the properties would be the different websites.
And this is where we actually come into a lot of issues with other agencies. If you look at this, I need account access if I'm going to set up Google Analytics 4. A lot of agencies used to set up Google Analytics where the agency owned the account and every business under the account was a property, which means that if a company leaves that agency, they lose all their data. If you are running an agency, you really want to pay attention to this, because you always want to set up the account owner or the account with the owner in mind. It's not about the agency, it's about the owner. The owner deserves full access to their data, and they deserve to be able to take that information with them no matter where they go.
One quick way for you to tell if they are having a different property is if they have the old UA tag, and it would have UA dash and then the number and then -1 up to 50. If you see larger than 1, it means that it's another property underneath an account, and you'll be able to see pretty quickly.
So go back to the admin settings.
Yeah, we can't create a property and we can't see the account settings. Like that shows you that we've only been added to this property.
We don't have accounts access to admin. And when you're doing a certain work, you need admin access to set people up.
Like creating the property. With the UA being sunset, it won't be as bad just for creating, but it's definitely, that's a bit of a no-no in our books, and Google doesn't recommend it either. We're going to go to the GA, and then now we're going to go over to admin, bottom left-hand corner on the menu, and we are going to go at the property level. We are going to hit on the property settings. That's where we can change the time zone reporting, and then we are going to go to data settings, going to go to data collection. We are going to go to the user data collection acknowledgement. And this is us acknowledging that Google is going to accept the processing through Google Analytics, and we're going to affirmatively check that we do acknowledge that they're doing that. We are also going to go to the data retention. And like I said, its default is 2 months. And we are going to select 14 months. And then we're going to hit save. And
go back to the data collection. Oh, and you have to hit save. And then click that get started button up top right.
For the Google Signals?
Yeah.
This one is for cross-device reporting and remarketing. And so we'll hit continue. Again, we're acknowledging that Google is going to track people across their devices and give us an enhanced demographics and interest reporting. We will click activate the bottom left-hand corner. And now that has been accepted as well. And you can see it's been turned on.
And all that blue hyperlink text, if you are interested, you could look at Google's advertising policy. You can see your My Activity. These are all places that honestly, that click around and get down. I find it interesting because you can see this is your activity, right? What Phelan's done. If you were signed in, you'd see what you've done and things like that. You want to make sure that when you do this, you have a privacy policy on your website that is attached in the footer. If you do not have a privacy policy for your website, don't worry, we have one. We took it from Google and we will share that out. It'll be inside the Kajabi class and you can copy paste it, just put your own business information in there. Now, we are not lawyers, so just know this is a template we use, but it's always recommended that you use a lawyer or read Google's documentation. We provide it to you because we know that privacy policies are a challenge. And we actually take the information right off Google and all. If you look at our privacy policy on our website, it's the exact same. So yeah. Now, wasn't that hard and confusing? Just a little? Does anyone want to give it a go with their website? Anybody want to share their screen? And we can go through it right now.
Be the brave one to put up their hand.
Did anybody have any questions? Did we put you to sleep?
So Michelle's saying she couldn't keep up. It totally
Right,
get it.
That's why we want you to share your screen and we're going to take you through a bit of process. We know that this is definitely the most challenging class. And the only reason we put it as the second class is because we want to pull in the data, right? We want to give you an opportunity so that you're not looking at some stilted data from some random website, that you're actually going to be looking at your own data. And the reason we do this class is because we're actually going to walk through it all together. So each one of you is probably going to share a website with us, and we're probably going to walk through it, whether it be privately or together, because this is something we want to make sure that is set up properly for you. Karen's asking, I have a 301 domain redirect that I want to track. Can I do that? Phelan. Yes, Karen, we can do that. Google Search Console is going to be your secret weapon. Okay. It's the secret weapon. We'll show you how to use it really well. So Google Search Console, right? Okay. If you're already having it set up, you're going to probably see something like this, which is also something you'll see when you have Google My Business. Google will try to pull up different data. Just click on the first result, usually says about there. So search.google.com/search console/about. Just click there. And then the start now button. And when you have a bunch of properties, when you work on a whole bunch of accounts, you'll see them. And you'll start to notice that always with Google, left-hand side, there's going to be this vertical menu with all your clients. The other thing you're going to notice is the hamburger menu. Right? That'll open up the side screen here, and things you're going to want to know about are the settings. Now, remember, these platforms change relatively continuously. The associations is something new, but this is where you're going to find users and permissions. So under settings, you'll see that the permissions are full and owner and then restricted. If you want to use Google Search Console, you need full ownership. If you want to be able to add users, you need to be a verified owner. And the funny thing is, are you seeing the word verified owner here? No. And the verified owner means you go through that process of setting up the Google Search Console. So you will have to probably take the owner through it if they want to be able to add and delete users. But we will have a video showing you how to do that to make it easier, because we know it's a lot of information. Will you all be okay with at some point sharing your screen so we can check your system? You can do it privately. We're more than happy to do it on screen so everybody can learn, but it is up to you.
Let me share my screen.
Joanne, we all are the same. And Karen, you have Shopify, Squarespace, and WordPress. Weebly? Oh, we haven't done Weebly. Ooh, nope. Tag manager. Nice. Phelan?
Yes.
Are you there? So let's, okay, yeah. We're in Google Analytics. So Kyle, can you go down to the left-hand side under admin, bottom left? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we know he's in Universal Analytics right now because he's got the three menus, right? So in the property, perfect. Kyle, can you click on that? And can you click on the GA4? Now you'll know it's GA4. Now you'll notice how Kyle has it labeled GA4. We do that with all the sites we work with because it's just a lot easier to see than that little tiny code without the UA in there. And Kyle, let's take you down to data settings. So the fourth one down.
to see in the product links. You guys have one that we don't have. That's interesting.
What's that? Google link.
Optimize link.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So we'll cover that more because we do have a whole class about Google Optimize, but
That's one of the last classes. And so that'll be really fun. We'll link up yours. Google Optimize is a free tool from Google that lets you do A/B testing on your website. It is quite advanced, and don't worry, you're going to get there. And so Kyle, inside data settings, you'll see data collection. Perfect. And so Kyle has acknowledged it. And notice how it doesn't have that little start now button because Kyle's already enabled it. And you can see at the top of his screen, enable Google data signals is toggled on. You can toggle on and off that. And then Kyle, why don't you click on that advanced settings to show everybody? There you go. Kyle, will you click on that little cog on the right-hand side? Yeah. Now this is really interesting because you can just do country tracking. You could just turn off all the countries you don't want. Phelan, can you mute? So we just leave these on, but know that this is an option. So say you just want to see people in Canada or you don't want to collect data from other people, you can do some geo-controlled data collection, which is pretty interesting. If you're a real estate agent in Vancouver, do you really want to see the rest of the world? Do you need to track that? No. So you can clean up your data that way a little bit. We have not done that. We leave this wide open currently. If a client asks for it, we could do that. Kyle, on the right-hand side, right beside geo control, there's that X other way. Yeah. I meant left-hand side, sorry. And then let's go to data retention and turned on 14. Perfect. Nice. And so you just click that save button. We're going to do filters in the Google intro class. Now we usually used to do filters and goals inside Google Universal, but we're just going to do it in filters because this is what's going to benefit you most. Also in the class, you'll see it should be up by the end of day Friday. There'll be a bunch of additional videos in the Kajabi that you'll see how to add a user to Google Analytics, how to connect. So you can see Phelan and I got excited about that Google Optimize third from the bottom, but you can see there's Google Search Console and there's Google Ads links. Now, the thing about this is you will connect things like Google Search Console from Google Analytics to Google Search Console. And then inside Google Search Console, when we get to that class, you're going to connect it from there over. So it's a double connect they're doing now. And why do we do this? Because eventually we're going to get all that data inside Google Analytics, and that's going to give us better detail. So Kyle, it looks like you've done a fantastic job. If you want to go into Google Search Console now by typing in Google Search Console, we can go check out that quickly. Yeah, perfect. Kyle, you look like a pro. Kyle's got the two options, right? Notice how there's the hamburger menu. Kyle's got it all set up. We're collecting data. We know things are going well. Once you all set up your Google Search Console, within 24 to 48 hours, you will see 16 months worth of data. It's pretty beneficial. Kyle, looks like you've done a bang up job. Thank you very much for sharing your screen.
Thank you.
Michelle, how do you feel about sharing your screen?
Sure.
This is the class that's the hardest. And that's why it's all about sharing our screens, because this is where everybody struggles. First, can we jump over to Google Analytics? I want to see what's going on in there for you.
In my analytics,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, awesome. Can you go down to the cog where it says admin over on the left-hand side at the bottom? So over your left-hand side at the bottom, see that little admin tab?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Let's click on that. Okay. What we can tell you here is that you have access, but you do not have admin access because you can't notice how like you can't create a property, and I don't think you can create a view or edit the property. Can you go to account and access management? You can request, I believe. So if you go in the first column, you'll see the second one down.
The leftmost column where it's access management.
Michelle, can you go over to the first column?
Yeah.
And can you see where it says account access management? So I'm seeing your screen, right? In the first column, you have account, second column is property, and third column is view, right? See at the bottom left-hand side, the cog at the bottom under attribution. Yep. And now see where it says account and access, click on that. You see where it just says remove access. You can't add users. So you're going to click that request access, blue hyperlink text. Yep. And you're going to want administrator access. And there you go. So access was emailed to administrator of this account. So now we're going to wait on that and see if you get an email or somebody on your team gets an email or somebody in the office.
It might be our web developer.
Yeah, I would get a hold of your web dev.
Probably.
And so he might be a little cagey about giving you access.
Not at all. He doesn't want anything to do with it.
Okay, perfect.
He just wants to hand everything over to me, and he doesn't even know how to use it.
Okay.
Develop the website.
Okay.
And everything to do with marketing is supposed to be me, and he just builds.
Okay, perfect. So now we know about your Google Analytics. So we're going to get that sorted, and I'm going to message you so we can go through and look at the setup once you get access. Wednesday class, it's expert help. So what I would like to do in that class is go through and everybody bring your Google Analytics. We're going to look through your Google Analytics together. So we're going to make sure you're set up. If you're not comfortable sharing your screen, we can do that privately. If you are comfortable, we're going to have a lot of fun. So this is your tag manager. It looks like you might, yeah, I think you have all access. Phelan, is that correct?
Go to the admin along the top there. Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
And then, yeah, it looks like you have absolutely full level.
Right. Now, how would you see that, Phelan, if you didn't have full level access? You wouldn't see some of the information, right?
Some of them would be blanked out.
Mm-hmm. And so the Google Search Console, I believe you have admin access, but let's just check. Click that start now. Yeah. And then over to the left-hand side, the little hamburger menu, the 3 lines at the top of the left. Perfect. And then, ooh, looks like you have to add a property. That's exciting. Go to the URL prefix in the middle of the screen. Yeah, the white box, and put in your URL. That is the perfect way to do it. That's what I would do. And paste and continue. Okay, now sometimes it'll just be like, yeah, we know who you are. Scroll down a little bit so you can click on that one, but let's click on the tag manager, Google Tag Manager. See the little down arrow, and let's click on verify. So each one of these that has a verify. So you can try these all before you get frustrated, and this is what'll happen, but that's normal. Now let's try it with Google Analytics. So scroll down to the next one. Yeah. And verify. And fingers crossed that they're just like, yeah, nope. And then we do it Phelan's way. Phelan's gassy. So the HTML tag, why don't you hit on what we need full details?
Scroll down a little bit because it has their HTML tag.
Yeah.
And then we hit copy.
Bam. Okay, copy. And now we go over to your website and go down to appearance. Here it says left-hand side.
And we're just going to hit customize along the left-hand side. Could you go to theme settings at the very bottom there? And header footer scripts.
Nice.
And then we're going to paste that in the top one, the header. And then we're going to hit publish.
Publish at the top of the screen on the
left-hand side.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now we are going to go back over to Monsieur Search Console and then verify in the bottom right-hand corner, the tab. You're now verified. Congratulations.
Yeah. So, and this, you know what, this is just so a lot of times if you're just working on your own site and stuff like this, you don't necessarily need to know how to do this. A developer can do it for you. However, if you do move from company to company and stuff like this is what will set you apart as a marketer, I think, because you can do it yourself. And then hit go to property, and I'll just take you to the property now. Just wait about 24 to 48 hours. And wow, already brought in data. Look at that. Gorgeous. Now you'll see that over on the left-hand side, we have overview, URL inspect, Google search results, and discover. We do not have a performance tab. Instead, you have 2 because you have Google search results. So if you click on Google search results, scroll up a little right there. This is everything on Google that's going on. And Discover is the Google Pixel phone.
Any Android. If you have an Android phone, it will be a tab and it has like blog posts, that kind of stuff, depending on people's interests.
Your job over the weekend is to go play around in here. Just click around, get down. You can't break anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can, I will be very impressed.
But we have a whole class on this to take you through all of this. And then after that class later on, we'll show you how to get the right keywords for each page of your website using this as a tool.
So good.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
And that's
Thank
it.
you. So am I sorted now? Is there something more I need to do?
You need to talk to your developer to get
Yes,
admin.
absolutely.
This one is just setting us up for success and getting this all connected.
Yeah. And this is why we do this early on, because we want you to look at your own data. Google does provide Google Analytics demo accounts for GA4 and Universal. And they even have a game, if you want to download it on your phone, called Flooded. It's a very silly game that's weird, but we'll go more into detail about that in another class. We'll let you process all this information. If you want to try things on your own, Michelle, for instance, if you want to try putting Tag Manager on there yourself, we can check it on the Wednesday's class together or even Tuesday's class.
Great. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy Easter. Have a lovely weekend. Get a Cadbury egg if you're not vegan. Yeah.
So much.
All right, talk soon.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.